available for people who are not able to make it today. We will be posting it to our YouTube channel and our website. A brief overview of the agenda today. We will be doing our year in review, where we will be hearing from our president, vice presidents, and our newsletter editor. After that, we will have a presentation done by our Vice President of DNA and Ancestry, Mark Taylor, about some of the research that he has done today. We will also have a short presentation from one of our members, Matt, telling us about his story of how he found the Taylor organization and give us a sneak peek about a wonderful presentation that we have coordinated for him to give later this year. Before we break, I do want to get a picture of everybody that was here on the Zoom so we can have it for our newsletter. After that, we will have a short 10-minute break for you to be able to use the restroom, grab a snack, and also chat a bit before the next section. Our second hour, we have breakout sessions that are provided by some of our vice presidents and our newsletter editor. They will also be breakout rooms created to visit with loved ones as well, that you will be able to move into. That's enough of me talking though. We'll go ahead and get started. So thank you so much for being here, and please enjoy the rest of the reunion.
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Roger Taylor Russell, president of the Taylor Family Association. I'd like to welcome you to the semi-annual family reunion. This is really a fun thing to do where we get people together. The Taylor family is a fantastic organization, and we have Taylors all over the world, all over the country, and we're always glad when we get together for a reunion. So thank you for being here. Well, let me introduce myself first. I'm Roger. I think I already said this, Roger Taylor Russell. Taylor, my middle name. I've been serving as the president now for about 10 years. I'm a retired dentist here in Utah, and it's been really fun for me to work with the Taylor Family Association. We have some tremendous people working in the organization. You'll have a chance to hear from Gordon Taylor, one of the vice presidents, Mark Taylor, one of the vice presidents. We'll hear from Mike Deal and Debbie Tangren. These are good people that do a lot of work in a lot of different areas. And you'll have a chance to hear from some of them today. When they come on, they can introduce themselves as to what they do, what their job is. So that we'll kind of turn it over to that group and let them talk.
Well, I'm Gordon Taylor, the Vice President of the Taylor Family Association responsible for descendancy research. I should tell you a little bit about myself. I began working in genealogy over 50 years ago. At that time, I was told many stories about my parents, grandparents, and fell in love with that. Well, then I was approached by the then president, Newell Taylor, if I would like to be the president of the Taylor Family Association, which I did. Assumed responsibility for 5 years. And then after that, I released myself and became the vice president of descendancy research, seeing that there needed to be work done in that area of the organization. Delighted to be with you. I'm very fond of the Taylors. You know, the Taylors have been in America since the 1600s. In some cases, there are 14 generations of us, depending on a multiplicity of generations. And by 1909, they were in all 48 states. I now know Taylors that are in Alaska and Hawaii, so that makes us all 50. So glad to have you here wherever you are. Let me talk a little bit about the focus of the Vice President of the Descendancy Research. We've been gathering under this part of the organization limbs and branches of the Church of Joseph Taylor. The Joseph Taylor was born in 1751, by the way, and died in 1817. So that responsibility is gathering and sharing information about your family. The focus has been on finding limbs that are wobbly and limbs that we've lost that are broken. We're much concerned about the living. We figure that we have knowledge of less than, in some cases, less than 50% of some branches of the organization. So we desperately need your help to connect. That 40 for 50% is coming from about late 30s forward. So we'd encourage you to help us together and share your family in the private Taylor database. Let me talk about a little bit about some of the projects that we're doing. One of them is sharing and collaboration with new members as they come in and be part of the organization. We're having those who have been responsible for a limb or branch of the tree help us, so that when you join the organization, we can point you to someone who is knowledgeable on that piece of the tree and can share stories about the family and help connect you. This is a new project. We've got about 20 people that are signed up now, and we could use about 200 of you. So if you're interested, love your family, have a few stories about that, we'd love to have you help promote that collaboration in the organization. Another thing that we've been involved with is the family search Roots Tech conferences. That conference this year will be the last day of February to the 1st and 2nd of March. We always have a Taylor family meeting there, usually on Friday. Be sure and join us. The other thing that has been started recently, the last couple of years, is a project they call Relatives at Roots Tech. Helps us identify your relatives, living relatives, cousins going back several generations as well. So it helps. In our case, we've been very successful, and we'll be sending out more information about how you can be involved in right after the first of the year. You can be involved in person or remotely with that feature. So we are continuing to gather limbs and branches, and we use the Legacy Family Tree software to do that. It's free, and it has marvelous features, much beyond the 4 major databases that currently are in the cloud, and help provide specialized training for tailors if you're interested in helping us in that way. Remember that 40 to 50% that we're looking to document in the line. The other thing that recently talked about in these genealogical circles is timelines or chronologies of the events, and we'll spend some time on that later on today. In fact, I'd like to encourage you to join Ron and I in the second hour when we're going to investigate ideas that you could use to help manage your family with the resources that can be available to you through our organization. One of them being the Legacy Databases software, which you can have access to for your family. Things like managing lists, birthdays, or Christmas list, reunions, things like that. So you have that gathered information of your family in one place. So we'll talk about that. And in addition to that, we'll spend some time about this chronologies or these events that are important in the historic and storyline of a person. I've always maintained that a residence is more than a residence. It's a point of historical proportion for your family with great events that are happening associated with that. But we'll talk about that in that point. Look forward to visiting with you a little later on. Nice to have you with us, and enjoy this first hour. We'll see you in the next. Thank you.
I'm Mark Taylor, and my wife Barbara and I live in St. George, Utah, where we see beautiful red rock cliffs out the windows of our home. I'm a retired Idaho potato farmer. When I was young, we picked potatoes by hand. Later, I learned to operate all the equipment in use in the 1970s. First, we lived in the small towns near Rigby. Then when I was 9, we moved to a farm north of Rupert. I'm also a retired trial lawyer. When I left farming for good, I joined a law firm in Salt Lake City. After tiring of litigation, I took a job with a large company in Illinois, working on business regulation issues. I eventually retired from corporate law in Illinois and moved to St. George in 2011. My wife and I then served legal missions for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in West Africa, in Russia, and in East Europe. Recently, we were excited to hear that temples will be built by our church in Cape Coast, Ghana, and in Calabar, Nigeria. While living in Africa, Cape Coast was one of our favorite places to visit. As I mentioned, I have an excellent wife, Barbara. Together, we have many interesting experiences. We have 5 wonderful children and 8 grandchildren. As many of you know, it's fascinating to watch grandchildren grow up. History is my avocation, particularly British history, but I also like colonial American history and Russian history. But I love family history. At key decision points in my life, family history has played an important role in my decision-making process. When I was early in life, I decided I wanted to get to know all the places that my Taylor great-great-grandfather had lived. And I have. I followed William Taylor and his children around the country, spending substantial time at Norfolk, Virginia, Tarboro, North Carolina, Bowling Green, Kentucky, Paris and Independence, Missouri, Nauvoo, Illinois, Omaha, Nebraska, the Mormon Trail through the middle of the country, Harrisville, Utah, Washington County, Utah, Fort Lemhi near Salmon, Idaho. I've also spent approximately 4 years residing in the United Kingdom, mostly in England. During that time, I've explored the parts of London where we suspect our Taylors lived in the early to mid-1600s. Many times I've walked the streets near Newgate where we have identified a likely family connection. I'm a member of the board of our association, and involved with our family association has been a very rewarding experience for me. Sometimes I write papers on the research I'm completing, and they might be used or some of the material for our newsletter, but mostly I concentrate on ancestry research. By that I mean trying to verify the parentage of Joseph Taylor Sr. This involves reading old records, especially wills and probate documents from colonial Virginia and North Carolina. It's not an easy task, it turns out. Evaluating the information obtained from the documents and then connecting the dots, confirming the history account with the DNA results, or at least trying to. I also spend time on descendancy research, which by that I mean using DNA and other tools to identify and document my first, second, and third cousins. Here, the DNA matches play a part. Some of you might have Ancestry or some other service, and you've seen big long lists of matches, and you can actually use them to help identify your cousins pretty effectively. Later in the program, I'll talk with you about the DNA research tools we're using and some of the projects that we're developing. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Mike Deal. I'm the Taylor Family Association's Vice President for Membership. Many of you may have seen my emails come across your inbox, encouraging you to join the association, reminding you to renew your membership, or even sending out invitations to this and other meetings that we've had throughout the year. I'd like to share a little bit this morning about why we think membership is important and why we'd love to have you join. We all certainly can research our Taylor family history on our own, but there's a great wealth of information out there and a great benefit to collaborating, joining together, and sharing the information we have. Being a member of the association lets you tap in to the huge database that we manage on the Taylor family. It's a well-maintained, ever-growing database that has ancestors and descendants of the Taylors into the tens and hundreds of thousands. In addition to that database, the other projects, including family research, stories, DNA projects, are all part of the association and are all available to you. And we would ask that you share with us as well. Adding to the information really does add to the benefit of membership. We also produce the Taylor Times newsletter. This is a quarterly newsletter that goes out to all members. We often will send this out as an encouragement and an enticement to non-members to see what we have available, to see what research is being done, to encourage them to join the association. That quarterly newsletter has a brand new editor this last year. She's done a terrific job in pulling all these stories that I've mentioned, the DNA projects and others together, and really highlights a lot of that information with maps, photos, artwork, and other items into the newsletter that really add benefit to your research. The newsletter also includes information on births and deaths and marriages and other information about Taylor cousins that may be even in your own neighborhoods. We'd love to be part of that effort in connecting our Taylor cousins throughout the country. Much of the information that I just described, from information on the database to the DNA projects, as well as historical versions of the newsletter, the Taylor Times, can all be found on the Taylor Family Association website. We're undertaking a large project today to bring that information on the website current. We've tackled a lot of the obstacles. We have a little bit of effort to go, but we hope you'll find that the website is also a huge benefit of being a member of the association, as you're able to tap into the members only side. There's a lot of general information there for the general public and for those just firstly expressing some interest in the Taylor Family Association. But you as paid members have a greater depth of information available for your benefit. Of course, as a member, you're also able to participate in our virtual gatherings, our reunions, and other ad hoc meetings and committees that we pull together. Many times those are open to the general populace. We want to make sure people can find us, and those who may express some interest in the association can tap in and get to know us a little bit better. But we also find that that gathering is a great benefit to your membership. It's an opportunity to come together, share information, share concerns, brick walls that perhaps you're hitting. The advice that you'll find from those in leadership in the association and from other members is just really invaluable. And we hope that you'll find that to be the case in your own research as you express interest in the association and as you participate as a member. So why not consider joining today? Renew your membership if the time is right, or update your membership if you're a current member today. We'd love to have you join and participate. There's a myriad of opportunities to work on committees, on special projects, on different tasks that we have. Your talents, your skills, your information is all needed, and we'd love to have you sit at the table with us as a member of the association If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to always reach out. I'd love to help in any way we can. If I don't have the information, if I don't have the answer, clearly we have others in the association that I can refer you to that are much better versed in the projects that I described on the database and the DNA, our Taylor Times editor and others. Please feel free to reach out. Thanks for your time this morning.
Hello, my name is Deborah Tangren, and I'm the Taylor Times newsletter editor. I came on board about a year and a half ago and took over full responsibility as editor after Eileen Phelps passed away last November. I have published the last 4 issues of the 103 newsletters that our organization has. This year, I got to assist in the Taylor family virtual reunion that we had at Roots Tech and got to meet many more Taylor cousins. I hope to see more cousins at this next year's Roots Tech, February 29th through March 2nd in 2024. I work for Family Search and I get to work at Roots Tech. I'm excited to be part of the global event, but to also see in person my cousins. Just a little secret because I don't think it's been announced yet, but the theme this year at Roots Tech is Remember. All of the things that I have seen behind the scenes is amazing. So a shout out to you all. I hope we can connect and see each other. In the meantime, though, we have today our 2nd October virtual family reunion. And I'm so glad to see you here. As a newsletter editor, it is my responsibility to put together the quarterly newsletter. I love to receive emails from all of you letting me know how the newsletter is helpful to you or that you've learned something new. Our newsletter isn't always going to be about our ancestors that have passed on. We want this to be a living document, documenting the lives that we currently are living in, sharing our dreams, accomplishments, and events that have shaped our lives. In the last newsletter, I posted a story that came about just from a picture of a family standing in front of their home. Just that little bit of research that I did on them brought those people staring out at me at that picture to life. Imagine what a picture that you share could tell. I love to celebrate those of you who have shared your anniversaries and other special events in your lives. This is how we can connect with each other in these celebratory moments. Remember the word connect, because that is what we are trying to do in this family organization. I would love to have you send me your emails or letters and about these fun events in your lives. I want to put more of them in our future newsletters. So if you love to write or want to share a special moment in your life or your families, I want to hear from you. Even if you don't like to write, but want to share something, just let me know. We can work together to tell that story that you want to share. Have you written a personal history of one of your own ancestors? Do you have a favorite ancestor that's your hero, or have someone in your immediate family that has done something heroic? Let's celebrate that person with their story. Have you run across a fun family history or genealogical cartoon or joke? Please share it with all of us by sending it to me to publish in an upcoming newsletter. Has your child or grandchild written a beautiful poem or short story or completed an art project? Share it with the family. We would love to see or read about a budding writer or artist. Did you find an old photo that you need help in identifying the people that are in them? Send it my way and I can publish it. And who knows, somebody in our family might just know who the people are. Has someone in your family won a special award, an accomplishment, a scholarship, or won an election in their local city or town, state, or a nationwide race? We would love to get to know our family through sharing of accomplishments and connecting. At a recent family reunion, I met a couple who are classic car enthusiasts. They love to tell me all about the shows that they go to and attend with their classic car. And I got to know them and I grew closer to them through their stories. I love connecting with my cousins, old and young, near or far. So reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Can't you tell I just love stories? In our second hour today, I'll be giving a short presentation on how to capture stories from your grandparents, your parents, or even just yourself. These stories are important to our future generations. We're living in a time like no other, just as our ancestors did. They were only able to capture their stories through their journals and letters, but we get to capture ours through audio and video recordings. Preserving our stories helps connect us to our generations, future and past. So I hope you can join me in the next hour. Until then, enjoy the family reunion.
All right. So that was our year in review. So the next portion of our first hour is going to be Mark Taylor is going to be giving us a presentation on some of the research that he has been working on. So I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Mark, so that way he can go ahead and get started.
Thanks. It's nice to see all of you today. A lot of you have met, some of you I haven't. I'm going to start out with Pleasant Green Taylor. Debbie just mentioned that she's interested to know if we have a favorite ancestor. He's one of mine. He's one of my great-great-grandfathers. So I've been working on a timeline about him. I've got about 60 pages of documented things that he did, places he was. One of the things I found, and I'd heard about it, but I hadn't seen it documented until I started doing my research. He went on a mission for his church in 1871 to go back to Kentucky, where the family was from, to actually defend the church against some of the allegations that were being made about them in Congress, and to verify what his ancestry was. He came back from that trip with the names and data about 43 relatives, including his grandparents, Joseph Taylor and Sarah Best, and his great-grandparents, Joseph Taylor Sr. and Nancy, whose last name we don't know. He came back with that information, and so that's been documented. And the fact of the matter is, since then, we know that the family was around Conedo Creek in North Carolina, which is by Tarboro, that they have spread out from there. One big branch of the family went to Tennessee, another big branch went to Kentucky. And the ones who went to Kentucky, a bunch of them, before very much delay, went to eastern Missouri. And so I've followed them around. But the fact is, we haven't verified who Joseph Taylor Sr.'s parents were. We've had numerous experienced genealogists in the family who've worked on that. Some of them have already been mentioned. There's others too that did a lot. We've had some professional genealogists help. Two whose reports I've found the most helpful to understand where Joseph Taylor may have come from was a gentleman by the name of William Thorndale, and another is Bill Linder. I've got their reports and I study over them to try to get hints and clues about what we can do to advance that. Over the years, there have been a number of theories come up. I know one of you has a picture that I've taken myself several times. It looks like the gravestone for the Joseph Taylor and Sarah Best on the old Taylor farm in Richardsville, Kentucky. In 1925, the family was convinced that Joseph was from Orange County in Virginia, and that they were part of the family that included Zachary Taylor. Since 1925, we figured out that's just simply not true. The name and the marriage, the approximate time of birth, those are pretty close to what we still think is correct based on all the research that everybody's done. But our family has nothing to do with the family that comes from Orange County. The historical record shows that. And it was a DNA project that was done in the early 20s. Ron was very actively involved in that, as well as a former president, Noel Taylor, who's recently passed away. Noel made a chart based on what information they had at the time, back in the early 2000s. And since then, several of us have done a new round of DNA testing with Family Tree DNA, doing the most advanced tests that are available now. And I've taken some of the reports of those that have done the recent work. I've taken those reports and I've taken the reports that Noel and Ron had from 20 years ago, and I've created an Excel chart with the basic DNA segment results. And there's two or three things that have come out of that. One is that it proves beyond any question that we have nothing to do with the branch of the Taylor family that involves the Zachary Taylors in Orange County. That's not us. They're not us. The other thing that we've found is that there is a family of Hodges who show up and are identical to our DNA on the Y chromosome. I assume everybody knows what Y chromosome is. Y chromosome is basically the patriarchal record. It's the part of the DNA that goes from father to son. Women don't have that one. women have mitochondrial DNA that you can use. But when you're trying to chase a family name, it's the Y chromosome, which is the patriarchal record. And using that data and figuring it out, we've got some Hodges that we haven't been able to account for yet. We have ideas, but we don't know for sure. And we've ruled out the Zachary Taylor business. So that's kind of the basic of where we are. The historical research has led us to think that we're connected to a group of 4 Richard Taylors who were in the Norfolk, Virginia area. So you kind of start unraveling this story with the 1790 census in Conedo Creek area. You have to pay attention to the counties because that area, that farming area, is a place where the county lines have changed 3 or 4 times during the period of time we're interested. So you have to pay attention which county it is. Right now, it's mostly Edgecombe County, but in the past, it's been Martin County and some others. But you start figuring out who was living there, who their neighbors were, who their friends were, who their associates were. You start with the census and you build out from that on who signed each other's real estate transactions and wills. And there's recently been a professor of history, if I remember correctly, from Harvard, who did a full book-length study of a political controversy that was going on there just as the Revolutionary War started in the Conedo Creek area. And he has depositions. They're more like what we'd call a sworn affidavit of almost everybody there. And that actually sheds a lot of light on the relationships between those people in the 1790 census that we're interested in following. You evaluate all that information and it starts to look like our Taylors were part of a group of shipwrights and small farmers who were living south of what's now Norfolk, Virginia. At the time, it was called Lower Norfolk County. In the mid 1600s into the early 1700s. So that's kind of where you start pulling the thread to figure out where these Taylors came from. And if you keep pulling on the thread, where you end up with, there's a handful of firm pieces of evidence that really help tell the story. I want to talk about a couple of them for just a minute. One of those is a will in 1679 of Richard Taylor and his wife, Margaret Manning Taylor. Richard wrote his will about 5 years before his wife, 5 or 6, but they ended up dying at about fairly close in time. He died, and as soon as they got the inventory put together on his estate, she died. So you've got in this fall of 1679, you've got the will of both Richard and Margaret and Richard's inventory. Several things come out of reading the details of that will. One is that Margaret Manning's sister, Mary, married Roger Hodges. One of Richard Taylor's godsons was a Hodge. These Taylors had 5 children, including a Richard Taylor. So that's where so Richard, whose will it is, that's Richard Taylor the first, and then Richard Taylor the second's the son. And his guardian, since his parents died before he was of majority, his guardian was a William Owens, and he ended up marrying Owen's daughter. So that kind of accounts for the Richard II. And then he had a son named Richard, Richard III. He had sons named Richard, and we believe he had a son named Joseph who went to Conedo Creek. So that's one of the theories that we're pursuing. And in my judgment, it's probably the one that has the most potential. We don't feel like we've completely proven it, but that's our suspicion. So Richard IV would have been a brother. He lived in Conedo Creek by Joseph. And if we're correct, then Richard I would be the immigrant, we think. It's hard, there's a gap where it's hard to know for sure what happened. But we've found some evidence that we think explains it. In 1635, when a Roger Hodges was 17 and a Richard Taylor was 16, they were placed on a boat at Gravesend, which is one of the ports just downstream from London. And purpose of that boat was for a thing that we would probably call a reform school called Bridewell Hospital. It's located right by Newgate, reasonably close to Newgate. They're both put on that boat and sent as apprentices to Bermuda. And that was the purpose of one of the main purposes of Bridewell. And it's where this ship went. The challenge is that we don't know what happened to Roger and Richard between 1635 and the mid 1600s. 1665, Richard is documented as buying some land on Julian's Creek, just off the Elizabeth River. And so we know that Richard was there by 1665. It was the land he was living on when he died, and passed some of his land on to his children, and some that he sold to others. We don't know for sure what happened to Roger Hodges in that period between. But the thing that's interesting is that these two start out in the same place, leaving a ship in London and then arriving in Bermuda. And then several decades later, they end up married to sisters, owning property next to each other, signing each other's real estate documents and wills, and being guardians for each other's children. So we assume that it seems like a very high probability that something's going on there. And that's kind of the state of where I spend a lot of my time. There's one other fact. In the will in 1679, when it went to probate, the court had received a letter that came sent to Richard Taylor. He was dead, and they kept the letter rather than passing it on through whatever they had of a mail system. The letter was from a butcher at Newgate in London who claimed to be married to Richard's sister, Susanna. And so when you put these physical pieces of evidence of Richard Taylor having a sister at Newgate and Bridewell Hospital being close, and they're responsible for the teenage boys that were put on the True Love ship to ship from Gravesend to Bermuda, it starts to look like a compelling case that we're on the right track, but we're a ways away from documenting it. So the Family Tree DNA runs projects to try to help confirm relationships, and we're trying to put a project together to figure out how the Hodges and the Taylors came together. With the new tools available in Y-DNA, I think there's a really good possibility to succeed. And I've probably taken more time than I should, so I'll end it here. Anyone that wants to talk about these things, I'll be in one of the chat rooms in the second half of the program. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. We'll go ahead and So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be watching a video that was presented by Matt. He's joined us here today. He has a short little video, and then after that, we'll take the picture of everybody here on the Zoom, and then we will go to our break. Thank you again, Mark, and we'll go ahead and get this next portion set up.
Hi to all my Taylor cousins. My name is Matt Weissmantel. I am from central New Jersey, about halfway between New York and Philadelphia. I was born in Newark, New Jersey in the early 1960s, and I was placed for adoption at 1 week of age via Catholic Charities. And when I was 18, I started to search to see if I could find my birth family. And the first step I took was to reach out to Catholic Charities to get my non-identifying information. I eventually went and met with the nun who managed my case and was sort of surprised to find out that she had my sheet of information, but first wanted to tell me that I had been ungrateful for wanting to know this, that I was hurting my adoptive parents, and that it was important that I should know that it would be over her dead body, quote unquote, before I would ever get more information out of them about my adoption. Obviously, things were very different back then in the early 1980s. I slowed down after this, perhaps a good thing, because always going through a search can be very tiring. But 9 years later, I came back to Catholic Charities along with my adoptive mother for another meeting, and this time I was pleased to discover that the nuns were gone, that they were replaced by very friendly social workers, and that after a few minutes of meeting with the new social worker, that she stepped out of the room and left both of us with my adoption file. And I was quickly able to learn that both my birth mother and my adoptive parents had named me by the very same first and middle names, Matthew Joseph. My adoptive mother, because it was her patron saint Joseph, and Matthew was Hebrew for gift from God, and my birth mother, because it was her two favorite uncles. It was really quite a shock. And amazingly, I discovered years later that I was the only child who ever had that happen to them, and that it was thought that perhaps the very difficult experience I had had when I went back to first meet with the nun may have been connected to this fact. Anyway, using this information, I started to look carefully through city directories, census records, use my knowledge of New Jersey immigration patterns, and of course, using the non-identifying information I had learned earlier, like that my grandfather was a shoemaker and how many children he had, and soon found my birth mother, and 8 years later, I found my birth father. I've created a presentation on my experience to help Triad members and genealogists better prepare and understand search and reunion experiences. Once I had made my own connection, I was invited out to Southern Illinois, where my birth father was from, for a family reunion where I was presented with a great deal of family information that I was able to combine with genealogical tools, and discovered that my birth great great grandmother was a Titsworth, and that her great grandmother was Seraphy Temperance Taylor, the daughter of Joseph Taylor. And of course, via that, I connected with the Taylor Family Association. And I've been a member on and off for the last 20 years. And I have to say that it was the publications and terrific research of our association that has been a great gift over the years, and something that's helped me learn more and more about genealogy. Additionally, as an Irish Catholic boy from New Jersey, I was amazed to learn how my birth family and its connections really tied into all the tributaries and the great rivers of American history. It was really something to learn. I retired about 5 years ago after 32 years at Rutgers, and I'm in the midst of working towards certification. And I also volunteer at the National Park Service. I'm a staff member at the Statue of Liberty Ellis Island National Monument, and I help in the library and also at the American Family History Information Center, where we assist visitors in finding immigration records about their families. I've taken what I've learned there and all of my experiences, and I've created a presentation entitled Ellis Island, Its History and Documents. My goal is to place Ellis Island in the larger context of American immigration history and look at how all this information can help us understand the nature and the genealogical usefulness of its records. I also provide an overview of how to find these records. And while we're at it, I also have a look at undoing some of the myths and urban legends connected with both the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. I'm excited that I've been invited by our officers to present this presentation to our membership virtually. And I hope that a date is announced either today or in the near future for when this will take place. And I hope to see many of you join me for this presentation. Thank you once again. It's been great to be here, and I hope to see many of you again soon. Thanks a lot.
All right. Okay. So we're almost at right on the dot of our time. So I just want to thank again Mark and Matt for these presentations, a little bit of history about themselves and also what they're working on. We'll go ahead and do a 10-minute break now after I take a picture of everybody. So let me go ahead.
Everybody turn on your cameras if you can.
Yeah.
You're modest.
And we'll go ahead and take that picture once everybody is ready.
Give it just a minute. Amber, little ones. Yes. Sorry, those are my grandkids she's getting.
All right, if everyone can
Look
smile,
exciting, everybody. Like you're happy to be here.
I'll go ahead and take a picture. All right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start our break. It's gonna be 10 minutes. So at 11:11.
Can we make it 5, Christian?
Yeah,
Is
we
that
can do a
possible?
5-minute break.
We just
Quick
don't want
bathroom.
anybody to not be able to have the time that they need.
Okay, yeah. So we'll go ahead. It'll be 11:06 Mountain Time. So 6 after the hour, and we'll go ahead and get that.
And you can also open up your mics and talk if you want to, if you're staying around.
Kent, I'm glad you made it in.
Hi.
Yeah, thanks, Roger.
Hi,
I
this is
appreciate that.
Kathleen. I finally made it in.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you. So
Yeah.
I am at beautiful Seaback, Washington at a resort. And it's a gorgeous day. We don't get very many gorgeous days in Seattle, but it is so gorgeous. Not a cloud in the sky. Yesterday was gorgeous too. It
That's
got
good.
down to about 30 last night, though.
Yeah, it's getting cold.
Yeah.
So Kent, you're late to the show. The first part was fantastic, but it's being recorded for YouTube. Is
Yep.
that right, Christian?
That's correct. Mhm.
It's still being recorded right now.
So you'll love to see the history and the research that was done. So Uh,
I'm sorry that I missed that first part. I got the last part of the man that was presenting just now.
That was Matt. Yep. you can-
So
We'll be able
for
to
the
post it.
information that Mark gave us, Mark Taylor
Yes.
and Richard Taylor and the Hodges
Mhm.
family, that sure would be nice to have those names and those dates, and so that we could start trying to do some research and find out a little bit more about their history.
So that's what I plan on talking about in the breakout is trying to have a discussion about how we can collaborate on these things.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'm working in a family history center now, 3 sessions a week. And with all the time I've spent on the Taylor stuff and then working there, I think family search is an important thing, but there are just a lot of people in our family spending a lot of time doing things that are wrong and are duplicative and are not helpful.
Yeah.
And so one of my main messages, besides trying to do the research and pass on what I find, is trying to figure out how to get members of our family who are really interested to work together so that we're not going at cross purposes.
So did you say that they were ended up in Norfolk, Virginia?
Yeah, if I had to bet, I would bet that they were one of the early settlers in Norfolk, Virginia. They had farmland, I don't know, not too many miles south of downtown Norfolk. So
I have family there now.
So
I
the
have
Elizabeth
family.
River
I have a grandson and his wife there now.
if you go out
So
to visit them, we could show you maps of where to go look at places where the Taylor's farm was.
yeah, so wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be
and you can do
nice?
the same thing in Kentucky and North Carolina.
Yeah, but
And
yeah,
and
we
for that
have
matter, in
a
eastern Missouri.
grandson that lives right there. I mean, he could just take a Saturday and go searching.
Kent,
Right?
you would have enjoyed the discussion with Mark about Zachary Taylor. So Kent Millington is well, Kent and I go way back to the Philippine days. He was a chaplain in the Air Force. Kent has quite a history, but Mark at the top of the screen has done a lot of research. But the discussion about Zachary Taylor, I'd love you to follow up on, Kent. And I don't know, Mark, if that's easier if it gets that on YouTube or whatever, but
Yeah, when's it going to be posted on YouTube?
So it should be posted probably by either tomorrow. I will try and have it posted by tomorrow. If not by tomorrow, then it will be posted on Monday. And then
And-
I
and-
will
How would I find it on YouTube? What's going to be the title? Is it Taylor Family?
Yes, it will be under the Taylor Family YouTube channel. What I will do is
Okay.
I'll post it on Facebook on the group if you're part of the group, and also the Facebook page. And it will also be available for the newsletter when the newsletter comes out. If you if you're not part of any of those, just let me know. And what I can do then is we can send it to you via email as well, with the help of Mike, our Vice President of Membership.
Well, I think I received the information on the association on Facebook, so I'll look for it
Okay,
and
perfect.
look for it out on YouTube as well. Yeah, I'd like to hear. And I'm sorry I missed the first part of this program today.
Oh, it's perfectly all right. Okay, so we are going to be back on. So what I will go ahead and do is I'm going to open out the breakout rooms at this time. There should be a pop-up that will populate on your Zoom page. It will have the different rooms that are available. And then you can join any of those at this time. You can also change rooms over if you would like to, as well. So I'll go ahead and open those rooms up right now for you guys. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can join the main session, which is where I'm at, if you have any questions or anything else. But thank you so much. We'll go ahead and start with our second hour with the breakout rooms, so that way we can go ahead and get started. Okay, I believe everybody is back. I just wanted to take this time just to thank everybody for coming to our family reunion. This is the wrap-up portion, just a little bit left. I just wanted to thank everybody and thank also our vice presidents and our newsletter editor for providing their exceptional skills with their products and knowledge with Legacy Family Tree with Gordon and Ron, Mark with his DNA knowledge, and then also Deborah with her oral, helping us capture our family history, oral history. There is going to be a survey that will be sent out to everybody that participated today. Please, we would love to have your feedback. This is something new that we've tried with breakout rooms. So we would love to get your guys' feedback so that way we can make improvements for our next virtual reunion. I don't have anything else. I don't know if any of the other officers have anything else that they would like to say. If they do, I'll turn it over. I see Mike raised his hand.
All I was going to say is thank you, Christian. Christian does all the technology piece, and he pulled all this together, and he has a few other things as well. But just thanks, Christian. You did a good job.
Of course. Oh, I saw Nancy want to say something.
Yeah, thanks for doing such a great job on the website.
Of course. All
Yes,
right.
thank you.
Yep,
All
appreciate
right.
very much the efforts of all the officers, members of the club here, of the group. Done a good job, and I appreciate very much the information passed on. I look forward to seeing you all again.
Yeah. I believe that we are going to be, some people may have some stuff that they might be sending out for, I know Deborah has some of her presentation she'll be sending out. We'll also be doing some of the YouTubes for Gordon's and Ron's piece as well. So just keep an eye out on Facebook for those presentations. It will also be posted on the website. But thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate your time.
Let me quickly say, Christian, let's make
course.
sure everybody plans on the May reunion where we're all in place down in southern Utah. So we'd really love to have that live reunion.
Yes, that's going to be live in person. There'll be more information coming on the newsletter and the website and Facebook group as well. Thank you, Roger, for mentioning that. But I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much. And you guys have a great rest of your day, a great weekend, and great holidays coming up. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Christian.
Thank you.
If anybody has any questions or anything, you're welcome to ask them.
Thanks for the reminder, Roger. Very informative. Good stuff.
Well, I hope Kent, you get the first hour in when you get it on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that first hour. I'm interested in that those reports.
Of course.
Interesting. But thanks again.
Of course. Thank you, Kent. You have a good day.
Debbie,
All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Thanks, everybody.
I needed what you were talking about, but I was not in your room, so I'll have to.
That's
catch
okay. I recorded it and I also have papers. I'm probably going to post the papers and everything, like the checklists and suggestions and helpful tips and stuff like that will probably be on the website as well, since the video will be on there too. So
I have a lot of people pushing me to get my own personal history. You know, we talk about grandpa and great grandpa, but
yep.
Someday I am already a grandpa. And a great grandpa.
Yep.
So
Yeah. it was for you too. It's for us as well, you know, to write our history as well. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to think about, I know that my grandmother struggled with writing her own stuff. And so all I did, she actually had a book of questions, and all I did was read them to her and ask and audio record her answering them. And that, so that if she wants to write it, she can, but that way she didn't like to just talk to a book, you know, and write it. So she just needed to talk it out. And so that way you can just then record it, do the transcription of it, and then you just have your paper. You can change it into a book or however you want to do it. So if you need help with it, I can give you pointers.
I may turn to you.
Okay. Well, I don't know. You keep telling me you have stacks like this.
Well, you know, I am really good at saying I'm gonna.
I know.
I'm going
I know.
to do that.
I know. And you know what though? I'm like I've told you guys before, we don't always live forever. So we got to start it now.
No, don't tell me that.
Okay, well, you'll live forever.
Deborah, do you have a recommended tool to take the recorded, the verbal recorded to written?
You know what? There are so many choices out there. It's really kind of hard to pinpoint one. First I would do is I would just record it on your phone. But there are many apps on your phone that will that you can record it and they will email you the transcripts. Those do cost money though, so it just depends on how much money you want to spend with it. But that's the easiest way to do it, is to find an app on your phone that will send the transcripts to you, and they'll email it to you.
Okay.
But there's a ton. I couldn't even, when I was researching it, I couldn't pick one because there were just so many options, and all of them, of course, have good and bad reviews on them. So it's at times it worked better for some. It depended on your phone, all kinds of stuff. So it's really just kind of hard to choose one. But I can tell you from experience, and Christian can vouch for me because he needed to help me with my transcription, because he types way faster than I do. For every 10 minutes of audio recording, that's like 20 to 30 minutes of transcription, even if you type fast. Because you have to stop, rewind, go back over, make sure you get everything in there. So
they usually say account for 30 minutes per 10 minutes of audio. Yeah.
So I have 8 hours of my grandma, and that's a lifetime of transcription. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet to do her final project, but it's just know that it's like 3 times the amount of work to transcribe. So paying for a transcription is probably worth it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Bob, did you have something? Did you want to say anything or ask any questions, Bob?
No, I just learned of a few things that I may reach out individually. I have some questions about.
Of course.
But very nice to come together. Thank you.
Yeah.
For all your work.
Thank you for coming. Vern, did you have anything any questions that you wanted to ask?
No, I'm good.
All right.
He's already written his book.
And then Sharon, I don't believe you have audio before, but I just wanted to make sure. Sharon, did you have any questions? If you can maybe chat them. If not, we can always reach out to you as well. I'll just give you a minute to respond. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it, and I'll hope you guys have a good day, a good weekend, and a good holiday. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.